Hello, all you positive heads out there. It's so good to be back with all you beautiful reflections of the one source consciousness that creates and animates all things. If you're new to this podcast, of course, we are super happy to have you here, and we just ask that you bring an open mind and heart to your listening experience and to be prepared to explore vantage points that I'm convinced will help shift or solidify your current understanding of the ultimate nature of reality in a way that is extremely empowering. Speaking of exploring powerful perspectives, I'm super excited to announce the release of my very first book, The Golden Key: Modern Alchemy to Unlock Infinite Abundance. If you're ready to alchemize the circumstances in your life so that your abundance expands to an entirely new level in 2021, head over to goldenkey.gift to download the audio or ebook as my gift to you by using the code POSITIVEHEAD. All right, all you positive heads, back again for another episode. Hello, Dalien.
You must be gluttons for punishment of positive ponderings.
Positive punishment.
Positive ponderings. Got a little. I was trying to do a little Sylvester cat there for a second, I guess. So
keep working on it.
Yeah, obviously I need to. But yeah, see, you're suckers for this kind of punishment. My goofy.
I know.
My goofy random things, and but yeah.
Luckily, this isn't a comedic podcast too much, you know.
Yes, exactly.
Pretty sure it might not make it in the comedy charts.
Yes, we make no claims that we're going to make you laugh. We probably will make you laugh unintentionally, so I suppose that still works.
You can laugh at us instead of with us. It's cool.
Yes, exactly. That's fine too.
What's going on today, Dalien? Anything exciting?
Yeah, it's raining.
It's raining in Southern California?
Yeah,
Woo!
Southern California style, which like we're talking with your mom because your family's from Virginia. Now, here in Southern California, this isn't really rain. Yeah. This is nothing.
It's been pretty consistent for a few hours, which is impressive.
Yeah, what I was going to comment on that I didn't know, I thought it was a really cool, interesting fact, since we're full of those here in the Positive Head podcast, is that the rain, I guess, can increase your production of serotonin or something like that.
Yeah, I saw something like that, like 60% or something.
Yeah, that's a significant number.
I've always been a huge fan. Yeah. I love rainy days, so I definitely seems to have that effect on me.
Yes, I have heard definitely from more people that the rain has that soothing effect than the opposite. That it
I imagine like anything, too much can kind of spin things the opposite direction. But since we don't get that much, it's very welcome around here.
Yes, exactly.
So what do you got, Dalien, in way of a story today?
Well, my story today is an article from reset.me, which is a site that we don't report on too much. They don't necessarily have a lot of the stories that are more mysterious or out there. It's much more focused on
psychedelic research and so forth.
Yes,
right? Yeah.
Exactly. But for that reason, we will still, talk about it and have reported on things that have been discussed there. What I found there, Brandon, was this really interesting article on something that's not even, all that psychedelic or weird, but it's actually just a neurotransmitter that your own body produces. It's one that could be considered an endocannabinoid. So it's one of these compounds that your body makes that help regulate, among other things, sleep, appetite, and really overall feelings of well-being and things like this, right? So anandamide is the name of it. And as soon as I saw that name, it interested me because I recognize a connection with Ananda, the Sanskrit word for joy, bliss, or happiness. So I think the molecule or this neurotransmitter was intentionally named like this, of course, right? But it's got a pretty significant role in mediating these things, including this feeling of joy, bliss, and well-being. So it's one that binds to your body's THC receptors like marijuana. And it was through marijuana and THC and marijuana research, endocannabinoid research, that we found out about it in the late 1980s, as this article by Dean Alban at Reset says. And what happens, Brandon, is since anandamide is something that is actually rather important, of course, to try and regulate your levels of in your body, just for basic well-being, the article gets into how you can do that. So there are things listed that are essentially, I was thinking after reading them, I'm like, okay, so what you have to do is just things that make you feel good, that are, relatively healthy, right? Like one thing that is mentioned that I think you and I and a lot of people will, have no problem with is eating chocolate, because they mentioned how, I do have to make the disclaimer, and you already know this. It's dark chocolate that you want to go for. Yep. Because it's got more of the pure, of course, form of cacao that has the theobromides and all these other substances that help give you that elated feeling, right? So milk chocolate is not quite the way to, but dark chocolate is what you want to go for. They mentioned exercise, which of course, just boosts your, it produces that overall effect already, Brandon. But one thing that I thought was interesting is they mentioned flow in the article, and flow is something that's been touched on elsewhere in the podcast. We've had conversations and interviews and things like this where we've talked about the state of flow that athletes or musicians, or even if you're performing something like yoga, tai chi, or meditation, you can find yourself in the state where everything flows really easily. You find no resistance. You find the feeling of well-being, and time, your perception of time certainly seems to change somehow, right? Yeah. So I thought that it was fascinating that they mentioned this, because I'm thinking, this is something that we can consciously do, that we can choose to engage in, that will help boost our levels. And it is sort of like engaging in a meditation, really. Whatever activity you choose to engage in that induces this state of flow. So I thought that was really cool, because it's, of course, we always say, do things like meditation because they promote, inner stillness and well-being, etc. But I thought it was cool that they, have a whole header called flow, and it's all about talking about this. Like I said, exercise is mentioned as well, of course. They mentioned finally marijuana, maybe not chronic marijuana use, because that may, of course, interfere with this. And the thing is that there's, at the very end of the article, they mentioned something that I made a connection to that I thought was interesting. There is an enzyme that occurs naturally in the body called FAAH, and it deactivates anandamide. It breaks it down, right? So what happens is, the article says some people have a genetic tendency to have less FAAH, so their natural levels of anandamide are higher. Okay, so this would be people really that are naturally sort of more naturally happy, enthusiastic, and optimistic. Yourself, I'm looking at you. I think that you possibly have higher levels. And what happens is a lot of times those people will smoke pot, for example, and will get a little paranoid, and it won't feel as good to them. So they're not as interested in weed for that reason, that it's sort of, they're naturally more sort of happy. Yeah. So pot sort of brings them down a little bit. It kind of has that effect on me sometimes. It's why when I was younger, I would smoke pretty frequently, but now it's rare. I still can enjoy it, but it can make me feel a little like, uncomfortable or self-conscious, more so than I normally am. It's like, so I can definitely relate to that thought. Yeah, I thought it was fascinating because it was the nexus between the latest sort of THC research. But actually, I'm sorry, THC is just one side of the whole equation. The whole endocannabinoid system is what we've talked about before. And it is very intricate, fascinating, and definitely worthy of more research. Yeah. Cool. Well, thank you for sharing that story. I actually meant to, well, it doesn't matter. It's just an order thing, but I was going to go over some reviews that we received. I always we get super excited around here when you guys take the time out of your hectic lives to actually give us feedback on this labor of love that is the Positive Head podcast. And, whether it's writing through the site and, just dropping us a line, or even writing in questions through the site. We love getting those. Hint. But also on iTunes. iTunes being the holy grail of all things podcasting. Well, if you take the time to review us, it helps with us getting exposure to other people who are looking for cool podcasts and so forth. And Dalien, we got the very first review we ever got on iTunes was a 2 out of 5 stars, and it was pretty
grueling. He pretty much ripped, me in the show. And then, it was like, oh man, that's like the start of this whole thing. I had to laugh and cry simultaneously. Well, we just got our second bad review. So guys, this is a little different than normal. We got a 1-star review. And so I thought, you know what? I'm not just going to read the good ones. Well, because they're usually all good ones. And we love that, but hey, this is real. So let's see what this person said. So far, not what I expected. 1 star by Leanna and a bunch of numbers. I've only listened to the first 5 episodes. Okay, so she went back to the beginning. I've only listened to the first five episodes, but so far the focus seems to be on how to develop your own positive living website, Facebook page, or product. I think the interviews are gearing more towards these topics because it's obvious that the interviewer is just starting out developing his own positive living model. It's what he's most interested in right now, and so where attention goes, energy flows. I'm going to keep listening in hopes that the podcast will start to focus less on business development aspects and more on positive living, education, and advice. I'll update my review if it gets any better. Well, hopefully as she goes along, I don't know, maybe because I interviewed those first few interviews, some people that had like, like Sue Krebs and the Butlers who have, what is their site? Powerofpositivity.com, and I don't know. I share my own story in those. I'm trying to think back the first 5 episodes. I share my own story of, synchronicities and things like that, but certainly not just starting down this sort of road in my life. I go back to, 20 years in my story of being on this similar path. But, people hear what they hear. And Leanna, I appreciate your honest review regardless. I hope maybe Leanna will hear this. She'll make it this far because if she's on number 6, this is like what, number 160 something?
Yeah, we're getting up to almost 170.
Yeah, so she's got a ways to go. But maybe one day she'll come to this, and if she gets it this far and she hears this podcast, maybe you'll update your review, or maybe you guys listening will go and help to offset this 1-star wonk 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 review. Although we did get a couple others, so. This one is by Akash1921. Super Hot Fire, 5 stars. Inspirational, life-changing, cathartic wisdom. Short and sweet. Thank you, Akash, for giving us some love.
Cool username.
Especially now, right after Leanna's. It's extra. Yes. It's extra touching. We got another one. Great daily dose of inspiring thoughts. 5 stars by We Bike for Fun. And this one says, I listened to your podcast number 166 with Deborah Rosman talking about heart math and heart rate variability. And just the day before, I was reading the book titled Primal Endurance, where they are mentioning the HRV and how you can use that to make sure you are not overtraining. I find so many synchronicities when I listen to your great mind-expanding podcast that connects to such a wide variety of fields, such as the latest discoveries in quantum physics to latest research on training our bodies. I enjoy your podcast and have recommended it to many friends. Keep up the great work. So, yay, we got a couple good ones. Thank you, We Bike for Fun. I love hearing those sort of synchronicities. That seems to be a theme, Dalien, where people, maybe 1 and 2 people will say, something about the fact of the timing of what's being talked about with, in conjunction with their own life. And I love that so much. It speaking of being in flow, we know we're all in flow and in sync together in that way. And sort of there is a tie that binds, an energetic, sort of cord that's running through all of us that are tuning into this. Even you, Leanna, I love you. All right, and now we get to one of the favorite things that happens every week or every other week, getting blessed with the presence of the lovely Sue Krebs. Hello, Sue. Welcome to the show.
Hi, Brandon. You're so sweet. Thank you.
I always look forward to hearing your positive pondering breakdowns, and you've got a good one for us today by, it looks like Don Miguel Ruiz, huh?
Yeah.
All right. Let's do it.
Here we go.
Here we go.
And this, for those of you who are maybe familiar or not familiar with Don Miguel Ruiz, this is one of the 4 agreements. So
yeah. He actually, I did an interview with his co-author on his last book, Barbara Emrys, and it's the Toltec Art of Life and Death. So if you guys want to go back and check that out, maybe a couple months ago we did an interview, but he's amazing.
Yeah. And the Four Agreements, it's just such, timeless wisdom. So
I think it was on the bestseller list for like 7 years or something.
Long time.
If I recall. Yeah.
I believe it.
Yeah, it's a good one.
This is, I believe, taken out of the book, so it's not the actual agreement itself, but it's his sort of breakdown explanation of it. So the quote is, "Whatever happens around you, don't take it personally. Nothing other people do is because of you. It is because of them." And that is Don Miguel Ruiz. And my thoughts on that were this. Doesn't it just drive you crazy when people tell you not to take things personally? How can you not, right? I mean, when someone says or does something to you, how can you not take it personally? I've been playing around with this concept for a while now, and I've found that it holds great power. Certainly, on the surface, our personal interactions can only be seen as that, personal. Someone says something to us, and we interpret it personally. However, what people really mean when they advise not taking something personally is to not make it be about your worth. Whoa, that's the golden nugget here. How often when we interact with someone, are we unconsciously or subconsciously seeking either validation, approval, or acceptance? We put our very worth on the table every single time, as if this other person has the power to grant or to deny our worth. In essence, that is the very power we've given them. But we don't have to. We need not hand over that power in each and every interaction. In fact, when we stop to consider it, that's a fairly ludicrous idea to begin with. Why would we hand over the determination of our worth to anyone else? Well, why would we even question our worth in the first place? So there's the rub underlying this quote. If we aren't questioning our worth in the first place, isn't it, in fact, very easy to not take what someone says or does personally at all? When we stand confident in our own value, our own worth, we realize that others' choices are driven by their own inner conflicts, wounds, and decisions. When someone acts hurtfully towards us, if our worth is safely out of reach, we can see that action for what it truly is, a cry for help, love, and acceptance from someone who themselves is hurting painfully. It's amazing how detached we are able to become when we no longer question our worth. There is great power in removing our worth from the outcome of any interaction. When we know who we are, when we value ourselves intrinsically, we no longer need to seek that validation, approval, or acceptance from random interactions. We cultivate that knowing within ourselves and we hold it sacred. For truly, our worth is sacred, untouchable, and unquestionable. Are you willing to know yourself with that kind of conviction? I am.
I love this. This is so good. It makes me think of another couple quotes that I've seen before. One is, people don't see you as you are. They see you as they are. So people are constantly projecting things that are reflections of themselves onto others. And of course, we talk about this concept all the time on the show that, the universe is a giant mirror. It's all reflections everywhere. And, so people projecting something onto you and then us being the sensitive souls that we are, especially those that would be tuning into this podcast, right? A lot of very sensitive souls. And here you are defining yourself by these other people who are really, have no authority whatsoever to say who or what your worth is, but we've all fallen into that. And I think this is such a great point to make and should be at the center of our, self-esteem, essentially, our own definition of ourself. It's like you're an eternal being that has always been and always will be. You're one with the source that created all things. And when you can understand that, there is no, just by virtue of being here, you are an amazing, brave, courageous soul. And as judging yourself, self-judgment being one of the worst things that you can do, and allowing other people to sort of give you ammunition to do that to yourself based off of your job as well, or, your status or your relationship or all these different things. Here's another Don Miguel Ruiz quote that I just happened to put on the Positive Head Facebook page like minutes before we started recording here. You are immortal. You've existed for billions of years in different manifestations because you are life, and life cannot die. You are in the trees, the butterflies, the fish, the air, the moon, the sun. Wherever you go, you are there waiting for yourself. And so if you bump into another part of self that is, projecting, that's not something that you need to own, right? And being as sensitive as we are, we're constantly taking it and internalizing it, and then to our own detriment. And you see it in people's body language and just the way they're so defeated. And it's just, it's back to that one thing, perspective. Adopting the correct perspective on who and what you are is everything. Yeah.
It's so interesting. I mean, because you bring up so many good points, and we're so entwined in all of this, and we look to all these externals. Yes, they're reflections. Yes, we're living in this physical world. Yes, they're part of the whole process, but we kind of got it a little bit screwed up in what we interpret the meaning of the things we see. They were never meant to be judgments. They're information. They're showing you something. And when we can take that whole judgment out of the equation, it's just totally so much better, so much easier, so much more loving, obviously. And the judgment is so irrelevant. I mean, and yet we're, like you said, we all fall prey to it. We all are looking for something external to tell us we're okay. And we need to...
You're playing the game wrong when you're doing that, right?
The rules wrong. Exactly. What if you start with the premise, I am okay? And you go into every interaction with that, it really changes it.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And instead of, you go into every situation as I am a divine emanation of source, and perfectly imperfect in every way. From any perspective, you can call out imperfections, but from the ultimate perspective, those are perfect. So I'm perfectly imperfect as I enter any situation. Now, as I interact and get feedback, it's all feedback loops from anything external of self. It's more of a interesting thing to ponder and to sort of try and learn from, instead of taking it and twisting it and letting it define us and then harm us, and then tell stories about ourselves that aren't true, that spiral. That's the thing about all this sort of self-growth work and that we're doing here. It can so easily domino effect in one direction or the other, and the whole point of what we're doing here, Sue, is how do we get the dominoes going in the right direction? And it starts with this, it starts with this internal, perspective on self.
It's easier said than done, obviously, because many of us come to the table believing that we're broken, believing that we're wrong, believing that we're not worthy, believing all these, BS stories we've bought into somewhere along the line. And that's what I think that's truly what our work is to let that go.
Yeah, exactly. It's every moment is another chance to turn it all around. And if you can just stop where you're at and say, hey, just because I've done this thing or thought of my life in this way or approached my interactions with others in this way, 36 years prior to now, however long you've been here, it has no bearing on how I have to do things moving forward unless I tell the story that it does. And that's another thing that people are doing. They're telling these stories of history about themselves that define themselves. I mean, I could stop today and become a circus clown if I wanted to. And I've never had any experience whatsoever with it being a circus clown. But if I wanted to, I could go get the shoes. I could go get the bowling pins to start juggling. I could do it all. Get the red nose. And I would all of a sudden be a work in progress circus clown. Don't ask me where this idea came, but it's what came to my head. So Maybe there's someone out there listening who wants to be a circus clown, and it's meant for them.
There you go. Go do it. Whatever, trips your trigger. And that's the point too, is to live this experience in the way that brings you joy, whatever that is.
Yeah.
Whatever that is.
Yeah. Get out of your own box that you've built, this story. You can do anything. You can change your perspective instantly. Every moment's another chance to turn it all around. So, well, Sue, thank you as always for bringing some divine wisdom to the show. So appreciated. And I hope the rest of your day is wonderful. And I will be anxiously awaiting our next interaction to mix it up like this.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Sue. Well, Dalien, I think that gets down to it for today. You have some music queued up.
You know
don't
what?
you?
I think we might not have queued up anything yet, but
then we're going to be really on the spot choosing. What about that song you were just telling me about? That's Biolumigen and.
There you go. You asked me to, if we would play that on the show. So let me go ahead and quickly locate that track for you.
Okay.
It's on my SoundCloud page. Yes, this is a song by Biolumigen and Goopsteppa.
Oh, yeah.
This is a track called Mountains, and it's a collaboration by them that features both of their cool sounds intertwining very tastefully.
As always, hope you enjoy. Also, before we cue up today's song, as a quick reminder, don't forget to download the Golden Key audio or ebook as my free gift to you at goldenkey.gift using the Golden Key code POSITIVEHEAD. And please, if you enjoy my gift, leave a positive review on Amazon so others can unlock their lives with the help of the Golden Key as well.
Desire to be a warm heart and to share everything.